Tokyo, February 8th, 2026. The snow has barely melted from the sidewalks of Nagatacho, Japan's political nerve center, when the numbers begin to cascade across every screen in the nation. 316 seats out of 465, nearly 70% of the lower house of parliament seized in a single night by one party, under one leader, with one unmistakable message. The Liberal Democratic Party has not merely won an election, it has detonated the post-war order. At the podium stands Takaichi Sanae, the first woman ever to hold the office of Prime Minister of Japan, her expression measured, her words precise. She speaks of national renewal, of defense, of a Japan that will no longer apologize for protecting itself. Behind her, rows of freshly elected legislators rise to their feet. The applause is thunderous, but what echoes louder is the machinery that put them there. A political engine so formidable, so deeply embedded in the architecture of Japanese democracy that it has been running, almost without interruption, for over 7 decades. To understand what happened on this frozen February night, you must go back to the very beginning, to a different Japan entirely, to the moment when the machine was first switched on. 1955. Japan is a nation still stitched together with scar tissue. Hiroshima and Nagasaki, barely a decade past. The American occupation has formally ended only 3 years earlier, but its fingerprints are everywhere. In the Constitution, in the economic structure, in the military bases that still dot the archipelago like permanent reminders of surrender. The Cold War is escalating. China has gone communist. Korea torn in half by a war that killed millions. And in Tokyo, the political left is surging. The Japan Socialist Party has unified, and for the first time, a Marxist-aligned government seems not only possible, but probable. Washington is alarmed, and so, on November 15th, 1955, 2 rival conservative parties, the Liberal Party and the Japan Democratic Party, are fused together in what historians will call the 1955 system. The merger is not organic. It is engineered, encouraged by American intelligence interests, and bankrolled by Japan's industrial zaibatsu conglomerates. The new entity is called the Liberal Democratic Party, and its first president is Ichiro Hatoyama, a man who had himself been purged by the occupation authorities before being rehabilitated. The message is clear from the very first day. This party exists to hold the line against communism, against the left, against any force that might destabilize the American strategic position in the Pacific. The LDP is not born from ideology alone, it is born from utility. And it works. Within 2 years, the party is entrenched. But it is the arrival of its third president that reveals the true nature of the machine. Nobusuke Kishi takes the helm in 1957. His biography reads like a dark novel of 20th century power. A former Class A war crimes suspect, an economic bureaucrat who had administered the puppet state of Manchukuo, Kishi had been imprisoned by the Americans, then released, then rehabilitated, then elevated. His mission is singular: revise the United States-Japan Security Treaty to cement the alliance on more equal terms while keeping Japan firmly inside the American orbit. In 1960, he rams the revised treaty through Parliament. The backlash is volcanic. Hundreds of thousands flood the streets of Tokyo in the largest protests the nation has ever seen, the Anpo demonstrations. A female student, Kanba Michiko, is crushed to death. In clashes with police, Kishi mobilizes security forces. The American government signals its support. The treaty passes. Kishi resigns, but the architecture he built endures. The security alliance holds. The LDP holds. The machine holds. What follows is one of the most remarkable periods of sustained economic growth in human history. Kishi's successor, Hayato Ikeda, understands that the party cannot survive on security politics alone. The people need prosperity. In 1960, he announces the income doubling plan, a breathtakingly ambitious promise to double Japan's gross national product within a single decade. He achieves it in 7 years. GDP growth averages 10% annually. Japan transforms from a devastated post-war economy into an industrial titan. Cars, electronics, steel, shipping, everything bearing the label "Made in Japan" begins to flood global markets. The LDP rides this wave with masterful precision, distributing the fruits of growth through a vast network of rural constituencies, construction contracts, and patronage systems that bind voters to the party with bonds stronger than ideology. You do not vote for the LDP because you believe in conservatism. You vote for the LDP because the LDP built your road, your bridge, your hospital. Eisaku Sato extends this dominance through the 1960s and into the early 70s. He secures the reversion of Okinawa from American control in 1972, a symbolic triumph that silences critics who call the LDP an American puppet. The party's majorities remain overwhelming, the opposition fragments, the machine hums. Then comes Yasuhiro Nakasone in 1982, and with him, a new chapter. The Cold War is entering its final, febrile decade. Ronald Reagan is in the White House demanding that allies share the burden of confronting the Soviet Union. Nakasone obliges. He pushes defense spending toward 1% of GDP, a threshold that may seem modest, but which, in a nation constitutionally committed to pacifism under Article 9, represents a seismic shift. He privatizes Japan's national railways and telecommunications giant NTT. He speaks of Japan as an unsinkable aircraft carrier in the Pacific. The language is deliberate. The alliance with Washington deepens, and the template is set. When America needs a partner in Asia, the LDP delivers, and in return, the LDP receives the legitimacy and strategic cover it needs to remain in power. But no machine satisfies forever without breaking down. In 1993, after 38 unbroken years of rule, the LDP finally loses its majority. Scandal, factional warfare, and the bursting of Japan's economic bubble conspire to fracture the party's grip. It wins only 223 seats, and for the first time, a non-LDP coalition government takes power. The moment is brief, the coalition is fragile. Within a year, the LDP is back, this time in a coalition of its own with the very socialists it was created to oppose. The machine adapts, it absorbs, it endures. The years that follow are often called Japan's lost decades, an era of deflation, stagnation, and political drift. Prime ministers rotate through office with dizzying speed. The LDP loses power again in 2009, this time to the Democratic Party of Japan, which promises a new politics, free of the old machine's corruption. The DPJ experiment lasts 3 years and collapses under the weight of the 2011 earthquake, tsunami, and Fukushima nuclear disaster. Enter Shinzo Abe. In December 2012, Abe leads the LDP back to power with 294 lower house seats and a program he calls Abenomics, a cocktail of monetary easing, fiscal stimulus, and structural reform designed to shock Japan's economy back to life. But Abe's ambitions extend far beyond economics. He is the grandson of Nobusuke Kishi. The blood of the machine runs in his veins. He wants to revise Article 9. He wants Japan to become what he calls a normal country, one that can project military power, maintain a full-spectrum defense capability, and stand shoulder to shoulder with the United States, not as a protectorate, but as a peer. He calls snap elections in 2014, winning 291 seats. He masters the art of dissolving parliament at moments of maximum opposition weakness, a tactic the LDP has refined over generations. Abe's influence outlasts his time in office. When Shigeru Ishiba narrowly defeats Takaichi Sanae for the LDP presidency in September 2024, 215 votes to 181, the party is reeling from a slush fund scandal that has implicated 82 lawmakers and millions of yen in illegal political financing. The stain is deep, but the machine recalibrates. Ishiba's tenure is turbulent, and when Takaichi Sanae ascends to the premiership on October 21, 2025, she becomes the first woman to lead Japan, carrying with her the full weight of the Abe faction's hawkish vision and a party apparatus that has spent 70 years learning how to win. On January 23, 2026, Takaichi dissolves the lower house. The timing is surgical. Her approval ratings have surged on the back of rising regional tensions, North Korean missile provocations, Chinese military activity near Taiwan, and a renewed American demand, this time from President Donald Trump, now serving his second term, that allies increase their defense contributions or risk the erosion of American security guarantees. The threat is not subtle, and Takaichi's response is not subtle either. Her platform is the most explicitly nationalist the LDP has run on in decades. Higher defense spending, well beyond the 2% of GDP target already set, enhanced intelligence capabilities, deregulation of Japan's defense industry to allow arms exports and joint development with allied nations, reduced constitutional constraints on military operations, and through it all an iron embrace of the United States alliance, recast not as dependence, but as partnership between two powers with aligned interests in a fragmenting world. 316 seats, a two-thirds supermajority. The kind of mandate that does not merely allow governance, it allows transformation. With two-thirds of the lower house, the LDP can initiate constitutional amendments, the very amendments Kishi dreamed of in 1960, that Nakasone hinted at in the 1980s, that Abe spent his entire career pursuing. And so the circle closes. A party born in 1955 as a Cold War instrument of American strategic design now stands poised to rewrite the document that America itself imposed on Japan in 1947. The pacifist constitution drafted under General Douglas MacArthur's occupation may finally be revised by the political descendants of the very men it was designed to constrain. The irony is staggering. The machine built to serve American interests has grown powerful enough to redefine the very terms of that service. Takaichi Sanae does not speak of this as irony. She speaks of it as destiny. A Japan that is strong, sovereign, and unapologetic. A Japan that has moved beyond the guilt of the 20th century and into the contested arena of the 21st. Whether this is liberation or something far more dangerous depends entirely on where you stand. But one thing is beyond dispute. The Liberal Democratic Party of Japan, 70 years old, scandal-scarred, repeatedly written off, has just delivered the most decisive electoral victory in a generation. The machine does not merely endure, it accelerates. And tonight, as the snow falls on Nagatacho, it is running faster than ever. The rise and survival of the LDP is one of the most complex chapters in modern history. If you enjoyed uncovering how power is truly shaped behind the scenes, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It's the best way to support the channel and ensure you don't miss our next deep dive into the world's hidden corridors of power.